Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special news update on Australian Indian Radio at 11 a.m. because 10 a.m. we had the real estate update with Usachendra. And of course, today is a very important day, the day after the census. And we've got some very great news for you as well. But right now, we're going to look at the Queensland restrictions, and we'll try and see if we can connect live to the Convention Centre where the news briefing is taking place. This was done earlier, but for people who might have missed it, here's the updates from there. We are ready.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, good morning, Jack. Good. All right, well, good morning, Queensland, and a big good morning to all of our Facebook Live followers. Welcome. And it's wonderful to be at the Brisbane Convention Centre, where it's our first day of the mass vaccination centre, and fully booked out today, 1,500 people. So that's fantastic news, and of course that's going to be ramping up over the next few weeks. So it's great to see the booking systems working well, the free parking here. Thank you to the convention staff, and that's what I want to see. I want to see Queenslanders come out and get vaccinated. Now, we have some excellent news today. So, first of all, we have 4 new cases, but they're all locally linked to that Indooroopilly cluster, which is absolutely tremendous news. They're all in home quarantine and they have not been out in the community. That is exactly what we want to be seeing. So, well done, Queensland, and well done to everybody who's staying in that home quarantine. And remember, you can't leave unless you get that final piece of paper from Queensland Health to say that your home quarantine has finished. And I know it's tough on families. A couple of my sisters and their families, they're doing home quarantine at the moment as well. So our family's impacted, just as I know a lot of families across Queensland are. In fact, there are thousands of people at the moment in home quarantine. Okay, so we have 156 active cases. We've had 23,099 tests in the past 24 hours, which is great news as well. And in Cairns, we've had 4,476 tests, so that's tremendous news there. That was an increase from yesterday's testing in Cairns. 15,625 vaccines were administered by Queensland Health in the past 24 hours, so that's, of course, wonderful news. So who would have thought a week ago we would be in this position today? So well done, Queensland. It's absolutely tremendous. Now we've got some great news for Cairns as well. So for Cairns residents, the lockdown will end at 4 p.m. Thank you for coming out and getting tested. Thank you for doing the right thing. But because we've had a couple of those cases in Cairns, Dr. Young has asked if we can keep the restrictions in place that we have for SEQ. They will apply in Cairns now, just to make sure that we don't have any community transmission. So I want to thank the Cairns community in advance, because this is what now we're asking you to do, exactly what the 11 LGAs are doing down here in the southeast. And that will apply, of course, until Sunday, August the 22nd. So that's great news. And of course, the Cairns residents will also have to be wearing those masks, just as they do down here in SEQ. And of course, the high school students will need to wear masks as well. So that's fantastic news. And as I said today, we're here at the vaccination centre just to ensure everything's running smoothly. From all reports, it is. It's great to see that this is up and running. And of course, as we get more supply from the federal government, and if I can just remind everyone that the federal government is responsible for 70% of the vaccination of Queenslanders, we're responsible for that 30%. And as we get more and more supply that is due in September, and then of course through to Christmas, we'll be able to look at opening more of these centres across the southeast and across regional Queensland. So thank you, Queensland. I'm so proud. A week ago, I think everyone was worried about where we would end up with this cluster. It was our biggest challenge, and Queenslanders absolutely rose to that challenge, and it's through your hard work that we're in this fantastic situation today. And just as Cairns has done that as well, well done Cairns. Every single person in the community needs to be commended. So I'll hand over to Dr. Young. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. So yes, excellent news today. 4 community-acquired cases, all in home quarantine during their infectious period, all linked to the Indooroopilly cluster. So that cluster does continue to grow as we expected it would, given the environments it's been in. So just to go through, the first case is someone who tested positive on day 9 of their quarantine, a person in their 40s who's a household contact of a Brisbane Boys Grammar School student. The second case is someone who tested positive day 10 in home quarantine, a teenager who is a student at Brisbane Boys Grammar School, but there are 2 other household members already unwell in that household who are confirmed cases. Then the third case is someone who tested positive day 8, a student at Ironside, and then the fourth case is someone who tested positive day 9, a student at Brisbane Girls Grammar School. So we now have 120 cases linked to that cluster. In Queensland overall, we have 156 active cases, and to date we've now had 1,929 cases in Queensland. The testing results down here in the southeast corner were superb, and they were even better up in Cairns. So congratulations to the people of Cairns. You've really supported your community coming out. Please continue to come out. It's so reassuring that we've only had those 2 cases. The reef pilot, who now we have definitively confirmed got infected on that ship that he piloted through the reef. I have the whole genome sequence results from New Zealand that confirms that. So he came into the Cairns community on the 23rd of July, which is why we've put some additional exposure sites up in Cairns. So please, everyone in Cairns, could you go and check the website to make sure you haven't been in any of those exposure sites. It's really important that you still come forward and get tested, and anyone in Cairns with any symptoms at all, as you've been doing the last few days so well, please come forward and get tested. But given that we've only had that reef pilot and the taxi driver positive, and we've had so much testing, I think it is safe to lift that stay-at-home requirement, but it's still important that we have those ongoing restrictions. It's still vitally important that people continue, as they've been doing, to come forward and get tested. That is just so important in case there's been any other spread. The highest risk contacts are negative, which is very reassuring, particularly as we're so late in the infectious period for that taxi driver and the reef pilot. But we all know with this virus it can transmit. It can transmit to someone who doesn't have any symptoms, so doesn't know to come forward and get tested. So there's still a risk there. It's low, but it's there. So please, just keep coming forward and getting tested. Similarly for the rest of the state, I genuinely don't know where this virus might next pop up, but it's so reassuring to see how well people have responded when it does pop up. But it's always important if we could try and find the very, very first case, because that means we can have a short, sharp lockdown and prevent transmission and all try and get back to our lives as quickly as possible. So please keep coming forward, any symptoms at all, no matter where you are in the state. Don't think because there hasn't been a case in that area of the state for a year that there couldn't be one. We all know there could. So please just keep coming forward and we'll be able to manage this beautifully, as the southeast corner has and as Cairns has. So thank you very much. Then today it is so great to be here, the first day of operation of this new mass vaccination clinic. I got my second AstraZeneca vaccine yesterday. I managed to get a badge. I'm sure I'm meant to be guilty because I don't know that we've got many of these badges. So I put that on because I'm so proud that I've been able to go and have my 2 doses so that I'm part of that 20% of Queensland that's fully vaccinated, and that's what we've got to aim for. We really and truly need to aim to get at least 70% of our eligible population, that is people 16 years of age or older, vaccinated as soon as possible, because that will protect us when we have our next outbreak, as unfortunately I'm sure we will, and means that we'll be able to manage outbreaks differently going forward. As soon as we've got 70% of our adults 16 years plus vaccinated, we'll be able to do things so much more differently. It'll be excellent. So that's important. And there is another group I'd like to get vaccinated. That is children, because of the Delta variant, children 12 to 15 who have significant underlying diseases. So Children's Hospital is managing that process. It's really important that those children come forward and get vaccinated with Pfizer as soon as they're able to register and get an appointment. Well children, not at this stage. The ATAGI advice is that it's children who have significant underlying diseases. So you can imagine cystic fibrosis, lung transplants, children with significant disease. It's really important they are protected. So please, anyone 60 years of age or older, or anyone who's had a first dose of AstraZeneca, come and get your second dose from your GP or pharmacy as soon as possible. Anyone under 60, if you wish to get AstraZeneca, please go and speak to your GP. Otherwise, register online through the booking process as soon as possible, because I do not want to have a single vacant booking appointment available for someone to get Pfizer. So I need people to register. Today, all 1,500 bookings are full, which is fantastic, and we will keep on pulling people forward who have registered to make sure they get booked. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. Today's a really exciting day in Queensland's efforts to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. I've certainly waited a long time to see this. Thousands of people able to get their COVID-19 vaccinations at mass vaccination hubs like the one here at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. I want to congratulate the staff of BCEC and Queensland Health who've put together such a fantastic, smooth program allowing people to safely and conveniently get their vaccines. We've got continuing good news here in the southeast. Just a handful of cases, all linked and all in home quarantine for their entire infectious period. That's a fantastic result. There are thousands of Queenslanders still in home quarantine here in the southeast. Some start to reach their 14 days today, and then a big batch tomorrow as we approach that 14 days from when the outbreak commenced. It is really important that people see out their full 14 days. As you've heard, we continue to get positive cases around that 10-day mark, and so it's important to keep the full 14 days of quarantine. Incredible result in Cairns. More than 8,000 people tested, all coming back negative, meaning we can lift the lockdown now with some ongoing restrictions. And I can also advise that supermarkets have restocked most of their product lines onto shelves in supermarkets in and around Cairns, and so they're returning to a much more normal level of stock and service.
It's fantastic to be opening up this new mass vaccination centre today, the day that we hit 40% of all eligible Queenslanders have had at least one dose of a vaccine. But that means 60% have not had their first dose yet. So if you are 60 or older, please pick up the phone today and make a booking with your GP or a community pharmacy to get vaccinated. If you are under 60, jump online and register on our Queensland vaccination website, because you have to be in it to get it. So for us to be able to offer you a booking, you have to be registered in our system. And it's wonderful to see so many people registering, and to know that we filled 1,500 booking slots here at the Convention Centre really within 24 hours. It is fantastic. We want to get to 3,000 on the weekend, but of course that's subject to our supply from the Commonwealth arriving on Friday. But please, look at all of your options. Go get vaccinated. If you live in a region, we have vaccination centres right across Queensland. Find your closest vaccination centre, a pharmacy or GP or Commonwealth vaccination centre. Don't wait, get vaccinated today. Can I say to Cairns and Yarrabah, thank you. You've done an incredible job, and that's why we're able to lift the lockdown at 4 p.m. today. But we need you to keep up that great work. You will now move into the same level of restrictions as what we have in the 11 local government areas down here in southeast Queensland, and that will apply until 4 p.m. on the 22nd of August. So please make sure you are familiar with those restrictions. That includes mandatory mask wearing, limitations on the number of people in your household, and also going back to 1 per 4 square metres, and of course make sure you are checking into every venue that you go to, so that if we do get a case anywhere in Queensland, we can contact trace you quickly. So that check-in app is still so crucial no matter where you're going, any venues. We all want to go out and support businesses again. We can support those businesses by making sure that we can stay open and stay safe, so you need to be checking in as well. Big shout out to our students and teachers and all the staff at our schools who have done such a great job in the first couple of days of now wearing masks in high schools, and of course our school staff in primary schools wearing masks. We thank you for doing that. That is helping ensure that we all stay safe and we reduce the risk of spread amongst our schools and in our communities. So we're so grateful for everyone. But of course, with that big milestone of 40% getting their first jab and 20% of our population with their second, that means there's still plenty to go. And we need people coming out, get vaccinated, of course, continue to come out and get tested. And it was really pleasing to see our testing numbers have gone up a bit over the last day, up to 23,000 again. Please keep coming out and getting tested if you are unwell, even the most mild of symptoms. We need you to come out so we can find if there's any cases in the community. We watch in sadness of what's happening in New South Wales. There continues to be, on average, one person dying from COVID every 3 days in New South Wales. We just can't afford for this virus to get into our community and spread. And I know that we're up to the task. Everyone continue to do the right thing, and we can do this together. Thank you.
Correctly said, we can all do this together. So it is a great news, and of course that mass vaccination centre at the convention centre is again a very, very welcome move. Well, right now, of course, one of the news that came out in the community about that magpie, and that is rather sad.
A tragedy almost unimaginable. 5-month-old Mia injured when her mother fell while trying to avoid a magpie.
Even as paramedics, this is an incredibly rare and tragic event for us to go to.
The baby girl was stabilised by ambulance officers but later died in hospital.
It was a very emotive scene, and my thoughts are with the parents at this time.
It's a shock for residents who live near Glindeman Park at Holland Park West, who've been attacked by the birds.
That particular magpie has been so vicious, it scratched my daughter's cheek, and it's actually attacked my daughter on more than one occasion.
This woman says her family has changed where they walk and her daughter is too terrified to go to the park.
My heart just goes out to the parents because I feel that having been in that situation myself, there was not much that woman could have done.
This is something that nobody ever wants to see happen. This is something that I'm aware has never happened before, and this is something that we want to make sure never happens again.
Swooping season usually peaks in August. The Brisbane City Council receives hundreds of reports of swooping birds. Usually signs are put up to warn the community.
The bird has been moved well outside of the urban area and into a place where it can't come back to Holland Park.
The council is now urgently investigating previous complaints about birds at the park and what else could have been done.
Swooping magpies is something that is part of Australian life.
Emily Gromens, ABC News, Brisbane.
And as the Lord Mayor said, that swooping magpies are part of Australian way of life. There are certain things that we have to learn to live with, but that is rather unfortunate, very, very unfortunate circumstance. Well, what else can the council do? I'd love to get your comments in the comment section. That was it handled right? People are complaining that the council only put up a sign, warning everyone, but they did did not do anything else. What could they do? Birds fly out of the sky, and they can't be everywhere. Or is there something that needed to be done? What more? Or do we get some sharp shooters out there with some pellets and guns? Well, then we'll have the the greenies and others on the back as well. So anyway, it is very, very unfortunate. Well, the last news for today, we're going to touch on. There's lots of news, but the last one that we are going to touch on in this segment is about the restaurant and catering industry and the association calling for mass vaccination.
Look, let's cross to Wes Lambert, who is from the
and I'll just pause that there. So it's not only us, it happens to the best of the best. She wasn't ready with a mic, so she had to hold that in her hand while she goes on with this report. So as I mentioned, it could happen to the best of the best. So, we are now
Hey, look, let's cross to Wes Lambert, who is from the Restaurant and Catering Association of Australia. They've run a new survey which shows a majority of restaurant owners want staff to be able to get vaccines mandatorily. Why is that, Wes?
Oh, look, we sent a survey out to all of our members in the industry wider because it has been such a hot topic about mandatory vaccinations for businesses. And they have spoken loudly with over 63% of businesses either wanting the federal government to mandate vaccinations or for their businesses to be able to mandate vaccinations for their employees. It certainly is an issue that is on their hearts and minds at the moment because in many states they're locked down and their businesses are in desperate situations.
What do you know about the reasons behind it? Is it concern about business continuity? Is it concern about getting the virus from customers? What do you know about that?
So look, ultimately the survey asked three main questions. Did businesses in the hospitality industry want the government to mandate the vaccine? Did they want to be able to mandate the vaccine for their staff? And did they want their customers to have the vaccine to come in? We didn't ask the particular reasons. However, many hospitality businesses have told us over the past few weeks that they just want their businesses to get open. They want some stability. They cannot survive with all of these stop, start, sawtooth lockdowns up and down, especially as we expect that it will take until the end of the year, if not possibly into early 2022, before we reach that magic 80%.
On the issue of customer mandatory vaccines, as we're starting to see required now in France, in Italy, in New York City, you got just over a majority who said yes, they did want customers to have to show proof of vaccination. That's not a resounding endorsement for that, is it? So what does that tell you?
So it tells us that they have a bit of hesitancy about having to enforce customers having the vaccine or a vaccine passport. Ultimately, your corner coffee shop, your restaurant, they don't have the staff levels to have someone literally at the door every hour that they're open checking people's vaccine status. And also there's some hesitancy about the privacy and discriminatory issues around having to check every customer's vaccine status. However, there are some concerns about their business itself and their staff not having the vaccination. Ultimately, this is a survey done of the hospitality industry, and because they wanted to have a voice in the subject of mandatory vaccines.
It's really interesting. And you talk there about restaurants being small businesses. That also means that they may not be able to fight any legal challenges if they decide to mandate it for staff and then face a legal challenge for that. Do you know of any restaurants yet who are willing to brave it and go it alone and ask that of staff?
Oh, look, that is the hot potato of mandatory vaccines. There are no hospitality businesses that have come forward to say that they would be willing to go the long fight with the Fair Work Commission and in the High Court with the three main issues with mandatory vaccinations, which are the IR issues, the privacy issues, and the discrimination issues. And so, they're looking for some guidance from the government as far as what they are and are not allowed to do. Ultimately, as the Prime Minister said, it is up to businesses what they decide to do. It's just where 93% of hospitality businesses are those small businesses. They just don't have the funds to take that through the court system. So they're looking at a minimum for an indemnity from the government. If the government's willing to give GPs an indemnity for the vaccine, business owners are looking for that minimum level of support from the government for indemnification if they do decide to mandate vaccines, that they're not going to be faced with the industrial manslaughter issues that businesses can be faced with.
And quite rightfully said that, it is up to the individual businesses as well to do the right thing. And as the Prime Minister has said, and also he mentioned there as well, is that, many businesses do not have that capacity as well. So it is, once again, a big balancing act. Hey, by the way, she did get that mic in pretty quick smart, didn't she? Well, wonderful to see. Well, right now, what I'm going to talk about is the gala dinner happening at the Queensland Parliament House. And thanks Brisbane for coming forward at such a very short notice and having a sold out event within less than 24 hours. Within less than 24 hours, the whole dinner function has been sold. So it is wonderful to see that kind of response coming from the community. You've all done us proud very well. Very good to see that. So once again, Team GoPio, Queensland have done a wonderful job in trying to put this together just in a day or two, because the restrictions and the way it was going, it was unpredictable. No one could predict whether, what the restrictions would be. So it only got announced on Monday, and on Sunday, and on Monday, the Parliament House gave us the go-ahead. Then there were some forms and all other things to be filled in. Politicians to arrange that room for us, and all those things took time. So we went live with the booking yesterday, and it sold out. So, within less than 24 hours, the function has been sold out. So thank you so much, Brisbane, for coming out and supporting that. We'd like to see you all there on Sunday. And of course, India Day Fair will be on the 23rd of October. If everything goes okay, God willing, it will be on that day. Hopefully we'll have restrictions lifted by then, and we can we've got the venue which can accommodate large numbers, but we need the government to give us the permission to get those sort of numbers in, and the government will only do that if the cases are low. So, that's why we wanted to allow ourselves enough time. Plus, there's been many functions which have already been planned for September. So, 23rd of October is when we had the venue once again. So that's when it has now been planned for. Everyone, once again, thank you so much for joining in this segment. And it is wonderful to see that kind of commitment and support coming from the community. It is so good. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.